Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on Solo RPG Friday, we will be kicking off the sci-fi month of May, and we will also be kicking off a short series devoted to Ironsworn Starforged. In this first episode, we are going to talk about a few things, such as some inspiration. We will be talking about a little bit about the learning process of getting Ironsworn Starforged to the table and learned. Then we will be going over some session 0 things, such as some of the truths about my world, my setting that I am playing in, the backstory, my character, and my character's initial goal and what I want to accomplish with this short campaign. This episode will be followed up by a few other episodes where I will be doing some session recap, talking about my experiences playing Starforged, and then we will end this short series with a final review for Starforged. So let's first start off with some inspiration. Reading fiction, I think, is probably the single most important thing a solo role player can do to make their games better, to make their games more fun, and to spark your imagination, to spark their imagination. And before I even set out to learn Starforge or to start this series, I went to my bookshelves and I picked a few of my favorite science fiction books to kind of spark my imagination, to plant the seeds in my mind of the kind of game I wanted to play. So Starforged is at its core a space opera style science fiction role-playing game that is focused more on external conflict. And so I wanted to pick a few books that would kind of inspire me along those lines. So let's take a look at what I picked and why. So the first book here is Callahan's Cross-Time Saloon by Spider Robinson. And this book I picked because it inspires me to focus on camaraderie and storytelling. If you haven't read Callahan's Cross-Time Saloon, I am going to read a little bit from the beginning of the book here to kind of set the stage of what this is. I highly, highly recommend Callahan's Cross-Time Saloon. So let's read a little bit here. If you've never been to Callahan's place, God's pity on you. Seek it in the wilds of Suffolk County, but look not for neon. A simple hand-lettered sign illuminated by a single floodlight and a heavy oaken door split in the center by the head of one big beef McCaffrey in 1947 and poorly repaired. Inside, several heresies. First, the light is about as bright as you keep your living room. Callahan maintains that people who like to drink in caves are unstable. Second, there's a flat rate. Every drink in the house is $50 with the option. The option operates as follows. You place a $1 bill on the bar. If all you have on you is a fin, you try to cross the street to the all-night deli, get change, come back and put a $1 bill on the bar. Callahan maintains that nobody in his right mind would counterfeit $1 bills. Most of us figure he just likes to rub fistfuls of them across his face after closing. You are served your poison of choice. You inhale this and confront the option. You may, as you leave, pick up 2 quarters from the always full cigar box at the end of the bar and exit into the night. Or you may, upon finishing your drink, stride up to the chalk line in the middle of the room, announce a toast, this is mandatory, and hurl your glass into the huge old-fashioned fireplace which takes up most of the back wall. You then depart without visiting the cigar box, or pony up another $1 and exercise your option again. Callahan seldom has to replenish the cigar box. He orders glasses in such quantities that they cost him next to nothing, and he sweeps out the fireplace himself every morning. Another heresy. No one watches you with accusing eyes. You make sure you take no more quarters than you have coming to you. If Callahan ever happens to catch someone cheating him, he personally ejects them forever. Sometimes he doesn't open the door first. The last time he had to eject someone was in 1947, a gentleman named Big Beef McCaffrey. Not too surprisingly, it's a damned interesting place to be. It's the kind of place you hear about only if you need to, and if you are very lucky. Because if a patron, having proposed his toast and smithereened his glass, feels like talking about the nature of his troubles, he receives the instant, undivided attention of everyone in the room. That's why the toast is obligatory. Many a man with a hurt locked inside finds in the act of naming his hurt for the toast that he wants very much to talk about. Callahan is one smart hombre. So I thought that the toasting idea presented in Callahan Crosstime Saloon. So this is about an intergalactic space bar where people go to drink and tell stories. And the toast reminded me of the vow that you need to take. So Ironsworn is all about taking vows, and taking vows is it's like dedicating yourself to a quest. So I thought that fit really well with the theme, with the backstory of Ironsworn. On the other hand, even the most tantalizingly cryptic toast will bring no prying inquiries if the guy displays no desire to uncork. Anyone attempting to flout this custom is promptly blackjacked by Fast Eddie, the piano player, and dumped in the alley. But somehow many do feel like spilling it in a place like Callahan's, and you can get a deeper insight into human nature in a week there than 10 years anywhere else I know. You can also quite likely find solace in most any kind of trouble, from Callahan himself if no one else. It's a rare hurt that can stand under the advice, help, and sympathy generated by upwards of 30 people that care. Callahan loses a lot of his regulars. After they've been coming around long enough, they find they don't need to drink anymore. It's that kind of bar. So that kind of storytelling and having a toast, an iron vow that you have to say before creating your story is why I thought Callahan's Crosstime Saloon would be a really good inspiration for some stories told in Ironsworn Starforged. Next up is The Stainless Steel Rat by Harry Harrison. And The Stainless Steel Rat, one of my favorite all-time science fiction series. And what I like about this is the roguish sense of adventure, this spacefaring kind of pirate rogue type character who's always out getting into trouble and having grand adventures. Next up is another book from Harry Harrison, and that is the Death World Trilogy. Death World Trilogy is all about really hostile planets, the Death Worlds, where everything on the planet can kill you and attack you and do you harm. So I figured that would be a good inspiration for some of the various deadly planets in a sector in Starforged. And then, of course, we have Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, all about exploring new, strange alien worlds and the expanse of humanity out into those worlds, which I think is a great, great work of science fiction that is oddly depressing and kind of dark and scary. And so I think that would fit really well with a game of Starforged. And then we have Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers. And this is a book all about going out into alien territories and looking for relics, finding loot for survival. I think that is a really good way to inspire a game of Starforged. And then we have Mind Bridge by Joe Haldeman. This is one of my favorite works of semi-military science fiction about an alien discovery that ends up being hostile. And this has some really tense action and great dialogue. And it is all about an external conflict. And I thought that this would be a really good inspiration for kind of navigating the kind of conflict that I want to have in Starforged. And finally, we have Clifford D. Simak's City. And City is about a future in which dogs are intelligent and they have much more intelligent kind of relationships with humankind. And so I wanted to use this as an inspiration for a companion for my character in Starforged to have a non-human intelligent companion as he sets off on his adventures. So those are my works of inspiration. Those are the things that I thought about while I was sitting down to learn Starforged. Starforged, I often hear it recommended as a good game to introduce people into the world of solo role-playing. And I have stated before that I disagree that this is a good beginner's game. And while learning it, while getting some games under my belt, some playtime, I still believe that. I think this is a pretty complex game. And I can't imagine this being the first thing I ever learned getting into the world of science or of solo role-playing. There is a lot to it. However, it does a really good job of teaching the rules and teaching what you need to do. I would say that this is on the complex side of our spectrum of complex and simplicity. It is more of a sandbox game. It requires quite a bit from the players to get into, to get the most out of. However, it is also very structured. And I think it is that structured play that people find inviting, that people find useful for the new player, because you do have a very set kind of outline of how you play with certain things you can do and very defined outcomes of the conflict of making checks and all of that kind of thing. So while it is a sandbox, it still does have a lot of structure. Speaking of the structure of the book is pretty nice. You start with the first chapter, which is the basics, and you have to read about 100 pages before you even get into character creation. So it really does take its time moving you into the game, getting you acclimated to the kind of game it is. You learn about the roles, how the dice work and all of that. The game basically uses a D6 and 2D10 for everything. The D6 is an action die, and you roll that and you add an attribute or something to it. And then you roll 2D10 and you compare this to the D10. So I had a 4 and a 5. If your action dice plus the modifiers are greater than the D10s, then you have a strong hit. If it's greater than one of the D10s, then you have a weak hit. If it's less than both the D10s, then you have a miss. And depending on the move that you take, depending on the strength of the hit or the miss, then that dictates the outcome. And then you narrate what happens based on that. The system itself is pretty simple, but there is a lot to it. One of the most interesting things about the book is how it eases you into the play and how it enforces that notion of everything is play. Reading the book, learning the rules, all of this stuff is incorporated in your first session in how you are learning the game. While you are learning the game, you are setting up your character, you are setting up your world. And in setting up your world, you work through a series of worksheets and you are establishing truths about your world. And this is probably the most interesting part about this game so far. We have a set of default assumptions. This is a perilous future. This is a lonely future. This is a diverse future, a far-flung future, an unexplored future, a wondrous future, retro future, an unjust future, and a hopeful future. So these are some of the things that you want to keep in mind while you are playing. These are kind of like the grand assumptions of the sector, of the forge, of where you are adventuring. And then you work through a series of truths, and you have different categories. You have a category for the cataclysm, the exodus, communities, iron, laws, religion, magic, communication and data, medicine, artificial intelligence, war, life forms, precursors, and horrors. And this will take you an hour or so to complete. But in doing so, you end up with a really good background about the environment in which you will be playing. And this is kind of like setting up your sandbox. And I did enjoy this part of learning the game quite a bit. And I want to walk through my truths and setting up these truths to kind of let you know about the kind of game that I will be playing. So the first thing is a cataclysm. And I said that my past was a very religious world, but it's kind of an oddly religious world. So I chose to have these interdimensional entities invaded our reality, and they were spirits of alluring divine form. So these spirits were the basis for the world's religions. The world's religions discovered that the beginnings of their mythology were actually extraterrestrial, and they came to Earth, and the religious people thought that they were right. They're like, oh my God, here come our gods. Here come the angels and the gods. And they gave themselves to the beings, and they were taken. They were perhaps raptured. But we come to find out that these entities, these alien, spiritual, divine entities, are not divine at all. They're actually physical beings. They're just another kind of life form. And that these entities have created mythologies to actually destroy and control worlds. So after that kind of a rapturous event, my people, we set out in these generations ships to find out what happened to the people who were taken. And my character was born on one of these generation ships many, many hundreds or maybe thousands of years later after this rapture event. And my character is actually a myth theorist. So a myth theorist is a secular counterpart to a theologian. My people, rather than turn their backs on religion after they discovered that the gods that they worship are actually physical beings, these extraterrestrials, we incorporated that knowledge into our religion. And so we have the theologians, that side, they are investigating kind of the spiritual side of what is going on. And the myth theorists, we are out there discovering, looking for lore, looking for the scientific evidence, looking for the physical ramifications of this conflict. Communities, few survived the journey to the forge, and we were scattered to the winds in this perilous place. So not a lot of us went out in these generational ships. Very few of us did. Iron, what do we hold important as far as our relics, and what do we swear our quests upon? And this is that iron vows are sworn upon totems crafted from the enigmatic metal we call black iron. So we have these different sects of these different brotherhoods of theologians and myth theorists. And I swear my allegiance, my vows upon the icon of truth. And so I have this religious relic, this item that is called the icon of truth. And that is kind of what it looks like there. Laws. I didn't put a lot into the laws of my land. That wasn't something that really interested me. So I said that our communities are bound under the terms of a covenant, a charter established after the Exodus. So these are just little pockets of kind of religious sects that set up order and help people and maintain the order. We are not a corrupt religious world or religious people. Corruption is kept to a bare minimum, actually. And for the religion, so what once was divine and spiritual is now natural and physical. We did not abandon religion, but our religion transformed. I must explore and discover the truth of the divine, of the raptured people. So I am out there looking for scientific evidence, researching the scientific basis of our religion. The medicine is the orders of sworn healers. So we have a brotherhood of healers who help us as far as the medicine goes. As far as artificial intelligence goes, we do not trust AI. My people, our world has never developed AI because we do not trust it. The wars. So there aren't really wars here amongst our people in our sector, but what we do have is we have conflicts between religious sects, but they are rarely violent. They are more philosophical conflicts. Life forms. How have the divine entities influenced other worlds? So these entities that revealed themselves to us, they have also done that on other planets. And so I am charged with investigating other planets as a lore hunter, as a myth theorist. And so I am trying to go from one planet to the next, discovering how these weird entities, these divine spiritual entities have influenced other worlds and influenced other planets. The precursors. Over eons, a vast number of civilizations rose and fell within the forge. And as they rose and fell, there are remnants of their religions, of their religious symbolism, their icons, and their beliefs. And so I want to go out and discover those. And as far as horrors go, let's see, the strange energies of the forge give unnatural life to the dead. One of the things I want to explore is the idea of an afterlife amongst the stars. So that's kind of how I have set up my world there, and giving the background, I thought that was pretty interesting. And so my character that I created, his name is Quint Savoy. He, him pronouns. His call sign is Brother Quint, and he is a myth theorist. So like I said, a secular counterpart to a theologian. The characters in Ironsworn have a few stats. We have edge, heart, iron, shadow, and wits. Edge is kind of like your dexterity. Iron is kind of like your strength. Shadow is like sneaking, how your subterfuge. And then wits and heart are your intelligence and wisdom. And then you have a thing called momentum. And your momentum will change, will go up and down as you are playing the game. As you go up in momentum, as you gain momentum, you can spend that as a bonus to help you as you lose momentum. You might have detrimental effects for when you are taking challenges. You also have health, spirit, and supply. Supply is all of your gear, all of your equipment is abstracted in this game, and I really do like that. I am growing very fond of solo RPGs that do away with individual loot and have more abstract ways to determine if you have what you need on your adventure or not. Spirit is basically your morale, and health is basically your hit points. And as these go down and fluctuate, you might become wounded or shaken, or you might become unprepared. And then you can also have other detrimental impacts, such as permanently harmed or traumatized. You can become doomed, tormented, and indebted, and your vehicle can become battered and cursed. So one thing that these Iron Helm games do is they do use a deck of cards. And all of these sheets are available at the website for free. The game provides the players with a lot of materials to use. So you can print out all of these forms for free. You can print out all kinds of different player aids. And you can also print out all of the decks of cards that you need, the assets. And these are interesting because they give all of kind of like the rules set up amongst these cards. And one of the main decks of cards that you will be using are these path cards. And these are kind of like if you took a combination of these, they might make up a class in another RPG. But these will give you things that you can do, mechanical and narrative abilities. And these will kind of define the kind of character that you are. At the beginning of the game, when you create your character, you will pick two paths. And so I am an explorer and a lore hunter, because as a myth theorist, I am going out trying to discover the scientific truths of this religion, of this philosophy, of the divine spirits and how they have impacted the universe. So as an explorer and as a lore hunter, I have checked off here the first ability for each one. As I gain experience, I can unlock other abilities by filling in these. These are dry erase cards, or you can just print these on a sheet of paper and mark them off with pencil or pen. And the way you gain experience in Ironsworn is you will, as you undertake quests, or you form bonds with NPCs, or you make discoveries on planets and throughout space, you will mark these boxes off. And as you mark them off, you will check these little boxes below. And those are experience that you can spend on either unlocking more assets, such as more paths, or you can spend experience to unlock new abilities associated with the assets that you have. One asset that your character always starts with is a starship. And so this is your main, your command vehicle. So this is where your kind of your base of operations here. And so you have your main vehicle here. And each of the vehicles will have a certain number of integrity. And that is basically the vehicle's hit points. And then you get to choose one other asset. And because one of my inspirations was Clifford D. Simak's city, I wanted a somewhat intelligent, non-human companion to join me. So I am joined by a Banshee. I haven't named my companion yet. I need to name my Banshee, but my Banshee does help me explore. So when I am planet side, when I am exploring a planet, my pet here, my pet companion, can help me explore. So I thought that was a fitting thematically with my character. The other assets that you might be able to choose from are your modules. And these modules, these will augment your various vehicles. And these will allow you to add certain, just certain technologies, little tech modules, different things like missile arrays or an overseer. That's kind of an AI. So I will never be able to get this overseer because my people don't believe in artificial intelligence. We don't trust it. But you can upgrade your engines, your hold, and all kind of stuff like that. And then you also have a number of different companions that you can have join you on your quests. You can also get support vehicles, and support vehicles will be like little landers or exosuits, hover bikes, just different ways to help you explore more detailed locations. And then we also have these deeds here. And deeds, I haven't learned too much about deeds, so I'm not quite sure what these are, but you have different things like bonded or a homesteader, or an oath breaker, survivor, or a vanguard. So in addition to creating your character, you will also create your starting sector. And let's go a little bit into a little bit more detail on my character real quick. So, all myth theorists are provided a ship by the Department of Scientific Inquiry into the Divine, the DSIID. And that is the organization that I work for. And that organization, my contact, my chief of command is called Brother Darius. And he is the chief of DSIID. And the ship that I was given, I called my ship the Jackdaw. And so all DSIID ships are marked with an icon of truth and have an extensive library and collection of religious texts and relics aboard the ship. So I have this kind of traveling library where I am constantly adding to it as I discover more truths in my exploration. That is how my character looks. The uniforms are kind of like priest uniforms in a way. And again, that is my icon of truth. And the DSIID is a Gnostic order trying to discover the truths of religion throughout the worlds. So my starting sector is called Genova, and the region, it's an outlands region. So you have different regions, and the regions kind of dictate how populated they are. We have a very populated region towards the center, and the next ring outwards is the outlands. And so that's where I am starting. A starting sector will start with 3 locations. And so I have Burnell. It's an orbital settlement, and it's an outpost. And that orbits the planet of Damu, which is a jungle world. I have Portent Station. It's another orbital settlement, and that orbits the planet of Enten, which is an ice world. And then we have Rockholm Port. And Rockholm Port is kind of my main planet, and that is on the planet of Orpheus. It is a rocky world. I think I have a little bit more about Orpheus here. So Orpheus is a rocky world. It has a thin atmosphere. The life forms are scarce outside of settlements. It is known for its jaggy mountains. It has exposed mineral deposits, and its major settlement is Rockholm Port. And Rockholm Port is home to tens of thousands of people. All of these people are divided into various kind of religious sects, either secular, such as the myth theorists, or the spiritual, so the theologians. And there are tons of like libraries and temples and things all devoted to both the spiritual and the scientific pursuit of truth. And so that is my home planet there. And that's kind of like my base of operations as we move out and explore the sector. Again, the leader of my brotherhood of DSIID is Brother Darius. He is very handsome and athletic. He is curious, and he expects curiosity from his agents. And he wants to avenge a wrong, but he is also very careful. Now, when you set up a NPC or a quest, you need to pick how the difficulty level of gaining progress in that particular conflict. And so with a NPC, you're trying to create a bond. And so you want to pick a difficulty to see how difficult it is going to be to create a bond with that character. Troublesome is the easiest. Then it goes up to dangerous, formidable, extreme, and epic. I chose that Brother Darius was probably more of a dangerous conflict. That doesn't mean that he's a danger to me. That just gives it kind of a difficulty level of how easy it will be to check these boxes off as we do quests for Brother Darius. So you also want to roll up a general kind of a thing that's happening in your sector, a trouble. And so I am saying that there is a sickness that is spreading because when I created my Portent Station, I did roll up that they were being plagued by a sickness. And so for my initial quest, when you set off, after you've created your character, after you have created your sector, you will pick a vow, you will pick an initial quest. And so that I said that I wanted to investigate a religious relic on the planet Damu. And I have heard that religious relic might be the source of the sickness. And so I am sent to investigate. And so when you begin your game, you will set off with your Iron Vow. Let me turn to that section here because it does give you a very concrete way to begin your games here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to envision an inciting incident. What is pushing you towards this quest? And for me, it was to something that I rolled up when I was creating my sector, and that was that sickness that might be spreading. What is the source of that sickness? And I wanted to tie that to my overall goal of being a myth theorist. And so I thought that there might be some kind of physical sickness associated with some kind of ancient religious relic that is on the planet of Damu. You also have a chart in case you're stuck for an idea to start off. You can roll on this chart. You want to set the scene. So the scene here is that I am talking to Brother Darius, and he is giving me my mission. And my mission is to go to the planet Damu and investigate. And then you need to swear your iron vow. So this is where you set out, you state what your goal is. You know, if this was Callahan's Cross Time Saloon, I would be making my toast right now as I am setting out to tell, not to tell my story, but to create my story. And I think that is really cool. I like that idea quite a bit. So when you swear upon iron, so I'm holding my my icon of truth, and I need to state my vow to investigate the religious relic on Damu. And then you roll your D6 for your action die and your 2D10 for your challenges. And you add your heart. So my heart is let's see, where's my character sheet? I have a 2 on heart. So I will add a +2 to my action to the D6. If you swear this vow to a connection, so I am swearing it to a connection to Brother Darius. You know, Brother Darius said, hey, this is your mission. I need to go out and do this as a member, as an agent of the DSID. I have to do that. It is part of my job. So I get to add a +1. I don't have a bond with Brother Darius. If you had a bond with the NPC you are swearing your vow to, you will get an additional bonus, but I'm going to get a +3. So let's see what happens here. Okay, 4, so 7, and I rolled a 2 and a 10. So I compare a 7 to the 2, that beats that. It is less than 10, so I have a weak hit. So you are determined, but begin your quest with more questions than answers. Take +1 momentum and envision what you do to find a path forward. So that's what I'm going to do off camera now, and I will keep a detailed record of what I am doing, of what Quint Savoy, an agent for the DSID, what he is doing on this mission given to him by Brother Darius to investigate the religious relic on the jungle planet of Damu that might be a potential source for this plague that is spreading across the sector. So that's my kind of introduction, my session 0 for Ironsworn Starforged. Again, we'll be back with a few more episodes about some session recaps, some more thoughts on the game, and then I'll conclude this series with a review of Starforged. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.